What's up, YouTube? Hope you all had a good weekend. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the Brexit and my thoughts on what's going to happen, and also a few items that I picked up or that finally came in that I had previously ordered. Starting off with this 10-ounce lunar monkey. Now, this coin has been surprisingly hard to find in recent months, and there's only one real dealer that has these. So I did end up paying for a premium for it, but I didn't want to let it go. The next one is a 2016 10-ounce kookaburra, and I actually have a little bit of a set going from 2014, 15, and 16. So I only wanted to work on my 10-ounce set for this one. The premium wasn't as bad as the lunar monkey, but I do think in the long run it'll hold its premium. I also picked up some 1/10 ounce lunar monkeys from Bay Precious Metals. I like the 1/10 ounce lunars on sale from BPM as bullion buys because they're not that much over spot. They're competitively priced against the American Gold Eagles, so when there's a sale, I'll go for the lunar monkeys. I will say though that I am looking at building up an American Gold Eagle stack just because of liquidity. One of the things that I've found recently is that during the summertime, there's a slowdown in numismatic coins and semi-numismatic coins, and it's a lot more difficult to sell. So having that liquidity of just basic bullion is nice to have. So next up, this is a 1/10 ounce Somali elephant. It's the first year of issue for the 1/10 size. It comes in original mint packaging, and this was purchased through Apmex. Once again, I did pay a little bit of a premium for it, but they were gone for a while and kind of had to bite the bullet just so that I can have my one for this one. I kind of wish I bought them a little bit earlier when the premiums were less, but you can't win them all, and we all have to make our decisions. So taking a step back, I really do like the lunar monkeys, but these are semi-numismatic plays, and now that we're coming up on the next year's design, the roosters should be announced relatively soon, and the 17s should start coming out in the next quarter or two. So keep an eye out for those. So I'm trying to finish up and fill holes, and I think a lot of people are doing that. So to touch back as what I said, it's a lot more difficult to sell semi-numismatic and numismatic coins that are more common dates right now. So this is one of the harder lessons learned because I do have a little bit of illiquidity at the moment because of my recent purchases being specifically semi-numismatic and numismatic coins, is the fact that most people are using their discretionary funds to fill holes or to go on vacation. I was wondering why I was having a hard time selling pieces that I normally would sell easily, and I came across the summer slowdown and the fact that there are fewer buyers in this market, and which makes me think that right now is a buyer's market, and if you want to fill out some holes, I'm sure you'll find some motivated sellers to move. So use it to your advantage and make some offers if you see some buy it now prices. It looks like it's a good time to pick up some good deals, but keep your eye out on bullion and liquidity because if you're able to command your price as a buyer, that means that the item itself isn't as liquid as you might have thought it was. So once again, I go back to liquidity and always making sure that you have some pieces in your stash that are liquid enough to move at any given time. A portion of your stack in bullion becomes important when things happen like the Brexit referendum, because when there's a large spike in spot and it continues to run, you're not going to want to sell your numismatic pieces close to spot when there's a drop in the premium. You're going to want to move your bullion instead of your numismatic pieces, because then the way I look at it, as I've mentioned in other videos, that there's a short-term, mid-term, and long-term play. And bullion is kind of an all-arounder, whereas numismatics and semi-numismatics are more mid to long-term. Another example of when to have bullion over semi-numismatics is when the GSR ratio closes in on the gold ratio and gets closer to a 1-to-1, say 35 to 1. Are you really going to want to convert your semi-numismatics at that given point, or are you going to want to convert your basic bullion over to gold? And even then, you can convert that to semi-numismatic gold and some bullion. So when GSR corrects back higher, then you can convert back into silver and then do the same thing over again. So these are just some thoughts that have been going through my mind about how to play the Brexit referendum and whether or not spot continues to go up or down. It's mainly just helped me look at my stack again and see some holes in my strategy. And basically, I don't have enough bullion, because if any one of those things happened where I wanted to convert because of GSR, or I just needed liquidity at this point in time, I don't have enough, or I wouldn't feel comfortable selling my semi-numismatics at a loss. So with that in mind, am I buying bulk right now? Not necessarily. I'm gonna wait until this Brexit referendum kind of matures a little bit and take a look to see what happens with the EU, to see if it starts a domino effect and other countries start piling behind it, or if the EU makes an example out of the UK and closes in on some of the terms when it comes to trade agreements. We'll really have to see what the EU decides to do with the UK and its member states if they start acting up. So it's a little too soon to tell, but I do think a good cash position at this point is good to have. And also, I do think silver will outperform gold. So my thoughts are we test 1850 before we drop down to 17 or low 16s and then move back up again to stay in the range of 18 to 19. And same with gold, we have a minor bump up before we meet some resistance, 1350, 1400, and then drop back down and then settle on a new range. So I do think there'll be an opportunity for buying, but don't take my word for it. This is just my opinion. And so let me know what you think. Please comment, like, and subscribe.